Hello and welcome. So, today's video, as I adjust my screen a little bit, I am taking a cue from a gentleman I met from the West Coast named Robbert Potter. A very interesting gentleman who hosted festivals in the Mount Shasta area. His claim to fame was focusing on God as well as what is the reality of extraterrestrial life, and I think that's an interesting topic for just about everyone. Considering that we grew up on this ball, right? As a metaphor, and we're Earthians, right? Before anything, we're Earthians. We're humans. Like if I grew up on this part of the ball, it's still the same part of the ball. If I grew up on this part of the ball, and a lot of people understand how important it is to understand how these parts relate, but they forget that we're human, we're Earthian, we're union with light, no matter where we are born here. And well, he and I have different ways of sharing our experiences in life. What he didn't pull punches on was speaking his truth. And I think there's a value to that. I think a lot of people in this world want to hide, limit, condemn, fear, prevent others from, or themselves from, sharing their truth no matter what it is. Everybody wants to have this sense of being right or not be mischaracterized or misjudged. But the reality is if you're living a false life and you're not truly being yourself, you're never going to actually be happy. You're never actually going to fully be yourself. And it's actually the central root of many health issues within life. If, for example, someone is unhealthy and they can admit they're unhealthy, they can go ask for all the help they need. If they don't know what's wrong, they can admit or recognize something's wrong and get the diagnosis or look for multiple types of diagnosis and try different ways of healing. If one's seeking answers to what the reason we are here for is as beings of light and love, or just in general, if they're just before that experience, by being truthful about that, they can then discover it. A large part of what I help people with is denial. Denial of God and denial of embodiment. And it's hard. It's hard to accept the level of full enlightenment, not in the way people assume who have yet to experience it, by saying you have to live a specific type of monastic life, but by what it implies as far as opening up to who we truly are. And so that is what, ehe, yea, or I am. The I am experience of life, where we let go of who we are as our incarnational history, and we open up to being all incarnation. So I am Jesus Christ. I am the Torah. I am my previous life. I am my future life. In many ways, I am my parents. I am my brother. I am the people I met. I am the jobs I've worked. I am is a powerful word, or set of words. To be I am, one really truly has to let go of a lot of things. And it's a difficult place to speak from. It takes practice. That's why there's training for this. That's why there's different ways of developing the skill. When I focus on this practice, the way I live my life is a little different. I wanted to make this video to speak to what it means to be fully awakened, to be enlightened, and then to be accountable for that. Because then at that point, when people are confused in their awakening, one thing we get is people are like, well, I'm Jesus Christ, and thus these things are true, and thus these behaviors are going to be my behaviors. And the reality is they can also do the same thing with saying they're Hare Krishna, they're Shiva, they're Buddha. The issues with awakening to God from a mundane life are actually very wide in range, and have a wide range of variety. But how does one say this in a modern era of 2025 without people immediately going something severely wrong with this person. The truth is, you be it. And this is one of the earliest pieces of advice I received when I woke up. When one is learning to be awakened, aware Messiah in life, when you are awakening to being Messiah or Christ, the truth is that we all are, when we are awakened, without bigotry, the same as everyone else. And it's a hard place to hold, especially because when we look at the world, how difficult it can be, the way we interact with each other, and then the accountability to do that from the inside out to every incarnation and what that looks like isn't often modeled. The best records we have are often written, and the people who do model this often are more tied to a religion and a single lane of practice versus the more universal, which is easier for us to experience and understand. However, that does then include all the religions and that which isn't religions. So Robbert was the kind of person who would sit and talk to different individuals about their understanding of the universe. And his posts opened up my eyes to something, or his videos. Now, I don't know him so well that I can quote him. We only met, one time. But upon his passing, I went and looked at his recent video, and it got me thinking. And he gives space to those who have experiences with other beings. And this is where a lot of crossover happens. He gave experience to other beings as aliens, but then later said not all these beings are physical beings. And so I, in my work with other beings. There are other beings. There's God as the all, and then there's delineations of God as the all in smaller subsections, just like interacting with other beings, i.e. humans, animals, spirits, spirit guides, angels. These things are very real. If you meditate and you do the right practice, you will sit and you will speak with God. And then if that's too much, you're able to step up through different levels through puja, through practice, to connect to the divine. And there is a conversation. Kabbalistically, we look at the symbolism and the experience of symbology. And that's for Judeo-Christianity because God is one. There's no separation. Within other ways of experiencing this, there's spirits to connect with. Goddess, which really is a limit of the English language. You see, they really should be called something less than God. God is the all. This is almost universal in every religion. Even in paganism, there's the universal union of the pantheon, or that which created the pantheon. Buddhism, it's Buddha consciousness. Being aware of this, that this is something that, even shamans, people who've ever done any medicine work, all these different ways of experiencing these things have made it very clear that God expresses itself through to us in all these different ways, and the different ways are important for us to understand and receive these communications so we can better share our light with the world. And in his world, and this is somewhere where I and him might disagree, maybe is the right word. I don't know if it's an agreement or disagreement. Unfortunately, he's passed away, so I can't ask him, but it'd be a great conversation. I look at everything as a part of God. From meeting God, and then my experience of learning from God, there's nothing but God. The element of earth is an element. It's a physical element. The fact that our planet is also called that is just like how God is real, and then there's a land called Israel. It's like a Kabbalistic alliteration, which is actually how that works. That it's the seeing that there's more than one type of truth or story to things, and that they all in aggregate build up to a place where we experience things with more depth. Hence why I usually focus on the meta of things, the creation of creation, the love of love, the true truths, the light of light, the kindness of kindness. Meta conversations are like if you have a aggregate of thoughts, are they kind thoughts? Are they unkind thoughts? I only digress for this moment to go back to the fact that in his world he looks at them as aliens, and that's not unjust. There's evidence of humans looking at these beings as otherworldly beings from the beginning that we interact with. However, my delineation for alien, and I think this is important, requires molecules. It requires a physical molecule being that was incarnated initially on a different planet that is still part of our physical dimension of reality. I've yet to see one of these in person. I not say that they don't exist or they exist. But when I work with multidimensional beings, there isn't very much of an alien quality to it, except that its uniqueness or its visual qualities could look like an alien per se. But I look at them as astral light, the universe saying, for you, through this story, this is what the meaning is by seeing this image. And now this is how we see visions and images. Just as we align with God, God speaks to us on a very high level scale. And the reception of these things does have a creative quality of interpretation. And that creative quality is valuable. It's required. You have to be able to see what is happening, and in some ways, without stepping out of a grounded space of what's fundamentally real in reality, interpret what is being said, much like conversation. Except for Yetzirah 1:1, the universe is made with letter, number, and communication. But to interpret that both from the sender, what is the place of the sending, what are we receiving, because communication requires there to be something sent and received. And by having a good lexicon on this, do we see everything outside of us as a part of us, speaking to ourselves? Yes, that's one way to do it. Is this also possibly a spirit from a different area? Yes, another option. Is this God directly speaking with us? Yes. Is this another human speaking with us? Yes. These practices of our cities, the spiritual senses that we develop through yoga, qigong, Kabbalah, they require us to develop these skills so that we can speak cogently to this expression of being I am in Messiah out into humanity, and not have everybody go, and now you're going to be picking out a garbage because you're screaming at a tree or something, bro. And it's like, no, this is actually the fundamental truth of all religions, from the language of the Judeo-Christian lineage. In another religion, they may say, oh, you're Buddha. In another one, you would say you are yoga now. You are Atman. You are guru. In native, you'd be like one with great spirit in the native traditions. There's other words they have. In every language, though, there's a word for this. And in Taoism, it would be one with the Tao. But the problem is, and Taoism speaks to this very powerfully, is the Tao that can be spoken of is not the true Tao. We lose our name. And so Robbert Potter, in some ways, are Robbert Potter, but you're also something beyond that. You are now one with the eternal. I, as a living being, am the same. When we start seeing these things, we start opening up what enlightenment and union with light as God embodied means on earth through the earth element. It changes the story. It's like, hey, we're going to tell you the same story you've always heard, but we're going to tell it a little bit differently now. And by seeing it a little differently, you're going to be happier. You're going to be joyful. You're going to see the heavens on earth, and this isn't anything that's news to anyone. That Jesus fundamentally never left this earth. That there are eternals on this earth. That this is recorded. That we know this. And that you, as you become one, meet these people. And you can go speak with God and understand the smaller parts of God. That's called the living God. In Judeo-Christianity, we speak to the living God. In lightworker terms, they call it like there's a divine transmission system. They make it sound more space agey, but it's eternal. It's ancient as much as it is future. Each religion has a different way of this. And what's weird to me is those who don't speak to God. Because I spoke to God my whole life. I just was in denial of it. Like I remember when I was little, God and I speaking. I remember when I stopped listening, when I was really upset with what my life was. And I was like, I'm done. Every time I listen, things get worse. So I stopped listening. And it turned out, well, maybe that wasn't the best plan. I don't recommend that. But I look and I see people, and what they're denying is fundamentals of reality. You see, the thought that God is a question isn't actually right. It never was really a question for a lot of people. What the question was how, with a specific limited tool set, like tying both arms behind my back, how do I go swimming? How do I define it by the specific tool set that requires a tool set that's self-referential if we remove self-referentialism, right? Because you have to have a closed system that can be defined in certain ways. I'm speaking, of course, to the scientific method. You have to have a thesis, hypothesis, but the problem is God is the all. How do you test God as the all within the all? That is actually doable. You do the practices that lead you to that. And each individual has to do that because there's a subjective relationship as the individual to doing the practices by which we then can experience and understand and learn. It's like learning to talk. You learn to talk on your own. You can't learn to talk because somebody else knows how to talk, per se. Now you can model them like we do with our parents, but you still have to learn how to talk. And so when we get to this level, and I want to go further, I really want to tell you guys more. I think that there's some people out there who think this stuff is suppressed. The truth is we're just nervous. We're just not great at this. There's a modern society that fundamentally, if you didn't fit in for a long time, it was trouble. But the reality is that was actually false as well. It's like a tripping or a stumbling stone, where it turns out that the more you are yourself, the more you're actually going to fit into the real society. Because everyone not being themselves isn't actually fitting in. They don't stand in very well. They don't relate very well. They don't smell as good. They don't do as good. And we had a period, I think, maybe like, let's say early 1900s, going into the 50s, where the thought of not being yourself was kind of weird. We didn't have all this media portraying certain qualities for us to emulate or fit into. That was a relatively modern thing. And now we're on the other end of it, where we're going into a place where soon AI is going to replace all this, and we have to prepare for that. What I wish to give you is this ability that I have. I want you guys to have this. I want you to know that there's literally millions of people speaking with God right now. They're unequivocally, without confusion. And let me take that further. Billions. Right? There's millions awakening to how real that is. Billions on Earth who have limited quality of understanding depending on where they're at. And there's a vastly large number of people who are using these tools to understand just the depth of what this really means for what's called the world to come, which I live in. I live in the world to come. There's others who live in the world to come. It's I'll call it the post-Satan, post-evil environment, where Satan is already destroyed, evil's already destroyed, and we're living with love all the time. And it's not perfect. Like, this thought that, we get here and it's pure utopian, right? The utopian quality doesn't mean that there's no issues. We actually thrive on developing and growing. A real utopia requires things to challenge us and grow us. That's here. That's eternal. It's like what is heaven? Heaven has everything we need in the earth, and it's always abundant and given to us. And we don't stop seeing God handing it to us all the time in every way. It's that we see this and we want to hand it back in time. The thing that's back in time is horizontally to those in the same environment as us who are living pre-awakening, pre-understanding, in like a weird Stone Age quality of mundane life, crying, literally crying, going, well, what is going on, and why is the world so painful? Why is this hurt? What can we do? And gnashing their teeth and throwing dust on their head when we go, here, all you do is love. Be the change you want to see in the world. So don't add to anything that's unhealthy or suffering of quality. Be of love. Know that there's all the religions here in union. They're all language of God. And that we live with Jesus in every day. Like we also live with Buddha and Lao Tzu every day. They are actually here. We can converse with them. We will sit with them and they will come and talk to us. We are not alone in this. This actually isn't news. This has been going on, you think like Maha Avatar Babaji in India. This is not news. You won't surprise the yogis in India saying this. If you go to Tibet, well, maybe the modern Tibetans might not, but the true Tibetans, the Dalai Lama is not surprised by this. The Pope isn't surprised by this. The Pope, however, will have possibly, because he's Chicagoan, a little more prayer for the bears and say focus more on the angels. Well, maybe not the bears, but one can hope. But maybe he'll be like, look at the more self-evident truths of which America is founded on. Look for God in all of this. And that's going to be an important part. Each area is going to have a different part for you to look at. But when you put it all together, it's all God. It always has been, it always will be, and that can't change. And nothing can change it. And we go, well, how can God, if it's all God, do this through us? How? Why? And the why is this. Evil is a lesson. Evil is a lesson. We are eternal. When we die, that evil doesn't come with us. When we cease evil in our life, it ends. Satan ends. It has already ended and is being passed. In yoga in India, they call this the passing of the Kali Yuga. Right now, I killed Satan. That's what we're using. That's what I use. That's what I developed. That's what I have done. And I go on from that. Not to say there aren't other things that are unhealthy we have to clear out. But we sit with that and we go, but what does that mean? It means I learned my lesson of why I don't want war in this world. Why I don't want suffering. Why I don't need to be full of violence, lust, and greed. And what's amazing is as we let these evils go, it shows up wealth, making love, and pleasure are still here. It's not for me, at least at this point in my life, and for many who live this life, and there's a very large number of us. There's joy, pleasure, there's sex, there's partying, there's alcohol. You want to go smoke pot? That's not going to be detrimental to you unless it's removing from your heaven. Everything's a measure of, does it take the light from you? Does it take your heaven from you? If it does at any point, that's where you stop. And if you can't control that, you don't. Right? That's being in a mature situation. And the light workers are the same thing as people saying the popes, the priests. They're just doing it a different way. They're doing it more in a personal level, if you will, of day-to-day life. Not to say that the others aren't, but it's hard to delineate at this point. Because we see everything as God, we just see how God operates all the time. We see the fractal-like nature of existence. We see the patterns. We know which things bring us the best light. And all we do are those things. And we're imperfect. Our flaws are part of what makes us beautiful, just like our love makes us beautiful. But it's the striving for this. And so, this is something I want for you. And I want you to know that not everything a Robbert Potter ever said is perfectly right. Maybe that's the same for me. but it might have been right for the right person when they needed it. It might have been the story or the light or the connection or the smile or the fact that this man goes, the world is now being changed. And I'm that active part of it that is changing it. And that's valuable. Those things need to be done. Those things help us. And whether you like sitting with a woman like Lightstar or Robbert Potter or any of these other people who are amazing, I don't know a large number of them yet, but maybe one day I will. Or if you sit down with Buddha, you sit down with Drupal, if you go to your guru and you go, Guru, it's time for Kali Yuga to end. Let us pull out whatever keeps it from ending. That will happen. That will now be your life. If you go to church and you're sitting in the light of God there, God, I'm ready for Revelations 22 to be not in the future of me, but now in my present, now in my past. What does that mean when you tell me to go look at the tree of life? Pick up the Sefer Yetzirah, learn Jesus' language, read the Zohar, understand what that taught as far as how to Messiah. Nobody said this stuff was written down in linear time. And the reason for that was that it was needed to be presented to each human as it was needed. When they're prepared, when they are mature. And you can mature yourself by actively doing this. Go pick up a Zohar. Go read it. And then digest it. Don't try to overcook it. Don't try to be like, oh, this is my identity. This is the only way it is. You read it. You go live your life, and you look for yourself, and you go, oh, now I see what they were doing, how they were living it. Now I see what they're talking about. When I go to Ophanim Yoga, I see it this way. When I go to AYP Yoga, I see it that way. Interesting how different languages have this thing. In love, it only means love in English, but in Latin, it has 17 different variations. And when that happens, this is a special place where I can sit down with Robbert Potter. It's the place beyond all of this, where it's just light. And the universe goes, I can just explain this to you. I can help you understand with understanding. I'll help you understand with wisdom. I'll help you be wise with your understanding, understand with your wisdom. And I'll give you the wisdom of your wisdom, why it's so important. Above all else, if there's anything else I can give you today, I want you to love, because it breaks down that everything was made out of love, even the ends of things. I killed Satan with love. One hand behind my back, praying every day. Doesn't mean I don't party. Doesn't mean I don't go dancing, although lately I don't as much, but it doesn't mean you don't go living. It's those things that bring really good things into our lives, and good jobs, good careers, good compatriots, good partners. In Taoism, there's if you study Qigong or Tai Chi, they literally say your friends, the friends you make, there's a specific group you'll make that are your true friends, and they will show up for you in every dimension, all the time. And the idea is that once one of you gets through, so to speak, to enlightenment, they all do. So we're all rooting for each other. And when they get through, they have other friends that might come in. And what we do is we just keep building and building and building. I want you guys to have that. And I want to figure out how to give you guys more. I don't always say this, but I don't feel like I have a full voice to give you, because I'm either limiting my voice and not speaking fully as the I am, or I feel like I'm doing a disservice by being so personal, so to speak. But that's not really fair. It's not personal, but maybe mundane's the right word, and that's not the right word. But maybe a little bit like saying it too casually. But if I'm not casual, at least sometimes, how do I relate to this? I don't know yet. So I'm going to be practicing this. I'm going to be sharing. My earlier lesson videos are a little bit less casual. I think I'm going to try being a little more casual. I think maybe that some of our gurus might need to teach us the value of enlightened casual conversation. I think that's what society might need. Because as you get here, you end up being light all the time. And we do need protection. We have rules that are self-evident of light. And they will be coming through you as you learn this through actual real transmission. So I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna do a little, what my friends would call a little woo. I'm gonna woo you a little bit. I'm gonna make you love me. But I'm gonna transmit pure light to you for a minute. So I want you to sit there for a second, and I'm just gonna send you astral light. Whoever is coming through, I want you to close your eyes, feel with me, just feel into your whole being, and feel the light inside of you glow. And know that I am the light. I am that I am. In fact, when you're done, I want you to say, I am. I am that I am. I killed Satan and I love. And I'm with God. And just let that grow in you. And if there's anything you feel in this transmission that doesn't feel like love, doesn't feel good, touch that. Feel it. Is it the thought that I said something about killing? Or something about the Prince of Darkness ending? What's so wrong with the end of evil? When you do it for yourself, can you start doing it for others just by having done it for yourself, by showing them how it's done? In the end, that's how we do it. We show everyone how it's done. We be the change in the world we want to see. By doing that, we can do unto others as we would like done for ourselves, to ourselves, through ourselves. And I love you. So many people can hate for no reason. An illness, it's a truly disease. Let that disease die today. Let love just be something that you would love to see different from the Creator. Let it be that if it's loved by somebody else, that they get to love it, and you can find more love where you need it. And when I send this to you, feel free to share with a friend. And let us remember Robbert Potter and those who've passed, who've never ever left us, be they friends, family, or sometimes even strangers, or gurus, saints, and sages. And may you have a little time after this message where one of them comes and visits you and sits with you. So trust yourself. Allow the magic to happen. And welcome to heaven. With that, God bless you. I hope you have the most blessed day.